I'm going to talk about something that much smarter people have already arrived at the conclusion. Um, Primarily Thomas Sowell, who I'm a deep student of. I have profound respect for the man and his tenure and his contributions to American thought. But what I wanted to talk about was the price of bad ideas. So, if a bridge were to fail, or were to collapse under its weight, or an earthquake, or something, and it falls, we know who the architects are, we know we can hold them accountable, and we can also put mechanisms in place to prevent such a catastrophe from happening again. There's a process, there's a breadcrumb trail that we can follow, and we can take the necessary measures to correct it. Not so for ideas. When someone creates a bad idea, rarely is that person within their lifetime, just because ideas take a long time to fully mature and to populate. By the time the consequences or the conclusion of that bad idea is it has full praxis. It's been implemented widely. It's now commonly known, and multiple people are subscribing to it. And should that idea result in starvation, famine, death, murder, whatever it is, the originator and the progenitors of that bad idea or ideas, we don't hold them accountable. There's no process in place by which we look at the consequences of an idea and we follow where that idea originated from. We're able to trace it back to the first person to either create the theory or was the first person to create that idea. And then what we don't do is we don't hold those people in proper contempt. We don't have a trial, a posthumous trial, where we really analyze and it's hard to determine intent too, but all we have to go on are the material conditions those ideas produce. So, when it comes to bad ideas, they just seem to get free rein, and they get to murder indirectly with impunity. And I don't know what is exactly preventing us from doing that. Is it a cognitive issue? Is it a continuity issue? Is it do we just don't care? We can't be bothered to ask ourselves, where did this idea come from? Who was it? And what ought history say about such a person who created such a devastating and demonstrably murderous idea? And of course I'm talking about Marx. But not just Marx. He's not alone. He's not the sole committer of ideas which have murdered. There's countless throughout history. But we seem to be unable to posthumously indict an idea and the person who created the idea and categorically malign, refute, and criticize those people to the proper extent. And what I mean by the proper extent is a complete extinguishing of that idea. End it completely. Don't teach it anymore. We don't do that. We seem to think that there's something sacred about ideas, good or bad, that they somehow hold an elevated position above, like, an actual crime. like theft or murder or something like that. We hold ideas in a completely different category of its own, to where traditional justice just isn't applied. And I don't know what the answer is, but I see the fruits of bad ideas all the time. And what I do is I look up the origin, I look up the person that first came up with the idea, and it's telling. The way that they live their lives. You know, these philosophers were, they weren't Boy Scouts, you know? Many of them were womanizers. They were polyamorous. They were they got drunk and high all the time. They were doing drugs. You know, just very... if someone were like that in your life, if that was your friend, you'd be worried about them. Or you'd be concerned, or you'd pull them aside and talk to them and be like, hey, you're not doing very healthy things. So from out of unhealthy people, like those, like Marx, who threw all of his money, what little money that he got, he threw it into drink, rather than taking care of his, 4 or 5 children and his wife. She kept writing letters to him, because he was always gone. She kept writing letters to him, begging him for help, and he just never did. He applied for one job. He didn't get the job, but he applied. The only thing the guy could do was write, and drink, and talk. So those people, they should be in the dustbin of history. And why we have not unilaterally discredited and omitted these bad ideas from gaining a cultural purchase. I don't know why we're not doing that. Are we too afraid to? Are we too afraid that it will lead to a slippery slope where we just start censoring? I mean, that's a possibility. But to let a bad idea germinate, and it costs human lives, I don't know that we should be so tolerant as to allow, just because it's simply an idea, that it should not be put to death. So, but then again, that leads to another question. How do you kill an idea? That's not straightforward either. But I guess it's the lack of a unified condemnation of proven and demonstrably bad ideas that end in mass graves, that we just seem to be, for whatever reason, unable to go, hey, that was a bad idea, let's not do that again. I don't have an answer, but I just thought I would get that out there. And I don't know, I'm struggling with this myself, because there is the possibility of strangulating good ideas in the process, but demonstrably proven bad ideas ought to be disregarded, deleted, gone. It's just a thought experiment. Let me know what you think.